Hello again, I'm Bob Colton. We're continuing our conversations in Charltote Public Schools, and today we're going to talk a little bit about video production. And Jeff, tell us a little bit about what you do and what you do with young people.
Well, I have a multimedia class that I teach at the middle school, and I've been teaching this for several years now. I inherited a program that used old VHS cameras, and editing was a chore, and I brought it into hopefully the 21st century now with digital video, and we edit video with a program called Adobe Premiere Elements. And at one point we were using 3 different versions of the software, and now we're all on the same page, which is wonderful.
And Jeff, as you are really working with television and video technology with young people, it changes so rapidly. You just talked about some of the different formats. How can you possibly keep up with all of the different video kind of formats that are changing?
I'm constantly updating myself. I guess that's one thing about technology, is if you're not on the leading edge or close to it, you're getting behind. So every step I take, I try to go forward.
And you talked a little bit about editing, but really you talk to young people and give them instruction in Charltote Public Schools about shooting video as well. It's not just the editing, is it? It's a whole process.
Well, I ask them to watch a commercial, or while they're watching a TV show, count how many seconds go between scenes, between a camera change from one to the other. And on the average, it's about 2 seconds. So the camera's changing that often. And when they get a camera, they just want to aim it and just play it. And I said, that gets kind of boring. So I'm having them practice changing the camera angles, which brings up the need for a script, which brings up the need for camera instructions for the cameraman. So they have to start getting a lot more detailed.
And so they may love television and video, but they don't really think about it as a science, and that's what you're sort of laying out for them. Here's how you actually produce something. Oh, yeah. And they think in a kind of a logical way then, right?
Absolutely. If they don't, it's garbage. It's just, who wants to watch that? And especially me, because I have to watch it and grade it. So I try to get them to do something of interest. I had a couple girls did a video session with the Q, which is a kind of a joint effort with the middle school and the Q, and they were my videographer and photographer. And they're to put that together and combine it to make a video that I want to put on the website, demonstrating what the Q's doing with STEM. And they had these things called gliders that they were using. And one girl today was putting things together, and she said, how should I do this? And I said, I don't want picture, 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 video, 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 video. I said, I want you to make it like it's part of a story that you're explaining. And I said, there's a lot of video footage there. She goes, I know. I said, but you only have 1 video so far. She goes, I didn't want to watch all of it. I go, that's part of the game.
That's what you do.
You got to go through all the footage to make sure you didn't miss something important.
And that sort of storytelling in video production is really a talent that young people, whether or not they get actively involved in any sort of professional career, the knowledge that you share makes them think a lot differently later in life, doesn't it?
Oh, I think it does. And plus, as they get older, even in school, I had a student just today. He's a senior in high school this year, and I had him as a student when he was at the middle school in my CMS news class. And he said, what was the name of that software that we used in class? He says, I have a video presentation I have to make, and I want to use that software again. So I told him, and I said, you're going to get that? He goes, oh yeah. He said, that was a good experience for me. So with the iPads, they have a built-in video camera, built-in microphones. They can do so much.
Young people can do so much with the technology that's available, but it's actually the process of learning how to do it that is challenging, isn't it?
Absolutely. We have so many requirements that kids have to do. Every year, it seems sometimes what I do gets whittled away a little bit because we need to focus more on, say, the core. And if they don't know about it, they won't know how to use it in the future. And it just will make things harder.
But Jeff, really what you're doing is you're teaching people from a visual angle, young people. You're teaching them storytelling.
Absolutely.
In a way. And each video, each production is a way to pass along a message and telling a story. And this is in a format that they like and enjoy, isn't it?
For the most part, yes. In fact, one of their projects is, I said, I want you to be like Rachel Ray. I want you to go home, have someone film you with your iPad making something. And one kid said, I don't know how to cook. And I said, how about a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? So I said, just talk it up. Talk about the peanut butter. Talk about the jelly you're using. And then show them how good it tastes.
Yeah.
And he came back to me today, he said, that's what I did.
And if you think about what they learn in what you share with them, Jeff, they think about planning a project and then actually doing it and then creating it in the end and then actually seeing whether or not it's been effective. So really what you're teaching is in stages and logical and applicable to anything else they learn.
Oh yes. However, at that age group, at the middle school group, they want to do it now. They don't want to go through the process of planning, so it's like pulling teeth.
So they like to press buttons and get it done.
Just do it. Yeah.
But I would imagine you're a pretty good critic, a pretty constructive critic.
Oh yes, I don't mince words. I said to a kid just today, I said, that's not very good. Yeah, you got to do more. You got to do better. Yeah. And so they went back and to the drawing board. They didn't like it. They saw their product. And they said, we've got to do this over again.
Yeah. And so they can compare to what they see on television with what they actually produce and make some, pretty logical comparisons to their own work and strive to be better. But can you teach them how to be better?
I have high expectations. Always have. And they don't have a choice. They just don't have a choice. Yeah. And sometimes I'll use current things as examples. All of those Subway commercials where they have the high-pitched voice, and these are adults sounding like little kids.
With helium in their voice.
It seems like that. Yeah. I teach them how to do that. And they have to write out the script and memorize their lines with the camera angles changing and create that product. And they even have a fake Subway sandwich that they'll use. So if I say, Bob, will you be my friend? They'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, Jeff, you must have an incredible amount of patience, and you actually have to teach young people to be patient, to work in a medium that shares information with people.
Oh, absolutely. Plus the restrictions of our environment. I have 3 cameras. I have 20-some kids. They all want to use the cameras. Plus we do an announcement section. Which some
well, tell people about that, because they don't really know what that's about if you're not in the schools all the time.
Well, at CMS, we create a daily announcement series. We'll have the sports, we'll have the weather, we'll have the lunch, we'll have some special announcements, we'll have some novelty things like, can you guess this song? And we'll have sections like, we'll have the Jeopardy song playing in the background, and they try to guess. We create all the pieces. I ended up putting it together because it's time intensive and I can get it done a lot faster, but it's their pieces that I'm putting together. And then I post it on a website off of the middle school page, and they can use their iPads to view the daily announcements. Now lately we haven't used them because the iPads have been picked up to update, so now we're back into that swing.
And you've been a teacher here for a long time.
Yeah, almost 35 years.
35 years.
I know, it seems like forever, but it seems like yesterday.
Well, and technology has changed, and you mentioned iPads. Has teaching changed much?
Oh, yes. Just like technology, teaching has changed immensely.
Yeah. And so what do you do differently that you might have done in a different way 35 years ago as a new teacher?
Well, one thing, I deal with all students. I deal with students with special needs. I didn't have those chops to work with a diversified group or use differentiated instruction time to give everybody a more individual approach. It was one big group. In fact, I was a band director. And when I'm talking about big groups, I'm talking about 85, 100 students in one classroom.
Well, that's right. You were a band director for a significant amount of time.
Almost about 15 years I was a band director.
Yeah.
Here in Charlotte. This has been my only teaching job. I never left. I've had my ups and downs, just like any teacher would. Economy, this isn't the first time we've had some austerity.
Yeah.
But I'm still here.
And how do you think, have students changed over that amount of time?
I think so. And being in technology, I don't hate saying this, but my area is partly to blame, I think. Our students spend more time on video games, on their iPads, or even their cell phones, texting each other, or just doing other things other than what I used to do when I was their age.
Yeah.
They are so used to instant gratification. They can turn it on and boom, it's working. Something like music or athletics, when you have to practice and practice to get better, and maybe you'll get good, maybe you'll get great, but if you don't practice, you're not going to be.
Yeah.
I've had several students comment to me. He goes, one said today, he said, does my hair look funny? And I said, well, there's a line up there on top. And he says, because he was wearing headphones all weekend. And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, I was playing games all weekend. That's a lot of That's a lot. That's a lot, no matter how you cut it.
Yeah.
And I see that. I see kids who struggle in school. They're spending so much time on a video game. They're not spending it on their work.
What can parents do? I mean, obviously you've been a long-time experienced teacher. What do you ask parents to do and contribute in their kids' education?
Be involved. Understand that should be time restraints on certain things. There should be time allocated for communication within families. Time for reflectiveness or reading. Time as a family unit would be important.
Yeah. And so you have now some different challenges than you did 35 years ago. And maybe students don't have the interpersonal skills that they had several years ago because they're used to using technology as kind of a crutch.
A crutch, a wall almost. I've asked several over the years, if you had to give up texting or talking on your cell phone, which would it be? Hands down, it's talking. They would rather text than talk.
Yeah.
My son is also in that category. My youngest son, who's 28, he would rather text than talk.
And why is that? Is it just because it's there and it's quick and it's fast and it gives them that immediate gratification, you think?
I think it's short snippets. They're used to that real short boom, 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 got it. Next person, boom, 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 got it. My son, for example, it's more reflective for him. He likes to think about what he's going to say before he says it. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes he won't write back for a while, but when he does, it's a lot.
Well, that's challenging for young people who grow up in a world filled with old people like me, and maybe not so much you, but at least me.
Me too. It is challenging. I, for one, embrace technology, but I treat it as a tool, not as a crutch, or not as an alternative to human interaction.
Well, as the guy who's the video guru in Charltote Public Schools, it really may be frustrating to you to see some of this technology turn over every 18 months or 2 years, and that's where we started this conversation. Mm-hmm. If at least we had a great format that we stuck with over time, but it's always changing, isn't it?
The only constant in technology is change. In education, the only constant is change.
Yeah.
If you don't change, you got to get off the boat. You got to change with it and try to adjust. One thing that I'm having a terrible time with, as wonderful as the iPads are, they're encouraging really poor typing skills.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in a good typing technique. I use this analogy. I said if it takes a really good typist that types 60 words a minute, and I've had many students that could do that, if it takes them an hour to do the work, and you're typing 10 words a minute, how many hours is that going to take you to do the same work?
Yeah.
And it's all about productivity. So we're suffering there.
So do you think young people get the message? Do they know what to do? We don't really know what to do about the change.
No, they don't know. They don't see it as change.
Yeah.
They just see it as normal.
It's their world.
It is.
They've always known the internet and
Yeah.
and a million television channels and all of those things that they have ready access to.
There's a terminology. They are native to it. We are transplants.
Yeah.
So it is in their nature. It comes easier. It isn't necessarily easy, but it's easier for them to pick things up.
Yeah. It's amazing too when we just think about the use of any cell phone, that in a smartphone there's more technology here than there was on space flights.
Yes.
For instance, the computer technology, and that really is amazing. It's a great thing, but oftentimes young people have to learn how to use it well to their own advantage. The internet has opened a lot of channels, but it also is challenging for people to expand their interpersonal skills as well. Now, hopefully, when young people are done with this class, what do you hope that they walk away with?
Well, with this class working together, that is huge. Being able to work together, being able to analyze and organize and create, produce, and come up with a final product for their efforts.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, thank you for sharing your thoughts and knowledge and experience in teaching in Charltote Public Schools 35 years. That's really incredible. You've survived and you're still here. Congratulations. I'm Bob Colt, and we'll continue our conversations in Charltote Public Schools.